back in with a 2017 Dodge Journey this time, 3.6 V6 Pentastar motor. It is a Pentastar Tick. It's also shooting the code P219A, which is Field Trim Bank 1, out of range. So we're going to go ahead and take this apart. It's very likely all being caused from two things. One, the exhaust leak that's behind the motor with the catalytic converter, and then two, the intake roller Fowler on the backside is making some pretty loud noise. So I'm expecting to see a bad cam when we get it all apart. We'll do the catalytic converter in a separate video. So this one will be just for the Pentastar Tick. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Got some parts that got to be removed. The upper cover first. And then we're going to take the air cleaner assembly off, the hose there, and then the adapter in the back there. That's all going to come off. And then the whole intake assembly will come off so that we can get to the rear valve cover and then to the front valve cover as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Just have a push button on and you come right off right there. This one's going to have a lock in it, but it'll also have a push button, and then that should come off too. See, just like that. Clipped onto the throttle body there. Slide that off and out of the way. Clipped onto the intake there. Usually these will just slide right off. Yep, just kind of tip them back and they pop right off there. And that gets the wiring off the top of the intake right out of the way. Screwdriver with a flathead tip. Come on, pause. Okay. This is the PCV tote hose. That's got to come off. Just work it back and forth and they slide off. Just like that. That one's got a clamp on it. And then the intake hose has got a flathead tip back here. All in all, we'll get down there pretty quick. It's not very hard to get down to these. These intakes got 10mm nuts that come across these brackets right here. Just take them off. It's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. I found that bending them out of the way works the best. So trying to get down to the exhaust where it bolts to the head is really difficult to do. But they're made of stamped steel, so they bend pretty easily. And there's another bolt back here on the back side. Hold the camera up here so they can see that. Right here. Another nut that holds the intake on right there inside of that bracket there. And then one right there. So we'll go ahead and take those off as well. Another vacuum line on the back just slides off and out of the way. Okay. So this piece is just kind of pushed in. Another wire there that's got to come off. But these are just pushed into a clip that's on the back side of the motor. And they do kind of come off kind of hard sometimes. You just got to kind of work it until they move. Sometimes getting a little pry bar or a long screwdriver will help. Now you can just leave it there until you pull the intake off. The intake will kind of block your way of getting it out, and it's kind of hard to get it out with the intake in the way. So what we'll do now is we're going to pry these brackets down and out of the way, away from the intake right here. Just like that. Just be careful, don't pry too terribly hard against the intake because you don't want to break it. But a little bit isn't going to hurt anything. And all these other bolts that hold the intake on, those are all 8mm. So it's always best to start in the center and go out anytime you're tightening or loosening. And that should be it. So there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts, plus the 2 brackets that hold it on, and it comes right off. Valves off. The valve cover, so the valve cover can come off. And they're just held on by 3 screws. I'm taking all 4 of them off at the same time, so I'm marking them. So 3 bolts that hold it on, they're T25s. Most of them, once you break them loose, they just come right out. You just gently break the gasket loose, and they come right off, just like that. So I'm making marks on these ones so that I know which ones. So I'm going to put this on the front or forward cylinder head. So I'm going to put an F and then a 1. The other one I have marked F2.
Go.
So now that we got those off, we're going to go ahead and take these coils off the front. Now sometimes these little boots will stick, so if you pull them up and kind of give them a little twist, they usually pop right free. Doesn't really matter what order these are in. We didn't have a coil problem to start with, so we're not concerned about making sure they're in the same place. Connector on the valve cover. It's this little cam sensor connector. Sometimes these clips can be kind of tricky. A little trick sometimes. Take your little blade, stick it in there, and release them. Just get it underneath the edge of it. And sometimes you can get them to come right off, just like that. And then you don't have to worry about it. And that hose is fine. Now this front valve cover, outside of unbolting it, is ready to come off. The valve cover, there's a few wires that are clipped to it. Whatever means you've got to get them apart. I always try not to break them, but sometimes you don't really have a choice. Sometimes they just break. But you just want to make sure that they're all detached from the valve cover before you start. Where'd you put it?
Passenger.
Alright, so all these bolts that hold the valve cover on, looks like they're going to be 8mm maybe. Yep, just like that. Same type of thing, try to go from center out. Keep from distorting the valve cover, so that way it seals up like it should. Sometimes they'll stay in there, Sometimes they won't. So just beware so you don't lose all your bolts when you go to lift it up. So sometimes they'll be a little sticky too, so you don't want to pry too hard because you don't want to break the valve cover. Find a bolt you can pry on and gently work it loose so as not to distort it too much. This one's stuck on there pretty good, so just have to keep working it around until it comes loose. We got this corner started, so. And they don't give you a lot of places to pry, so you just have to keep working it around until you find a spot that will let it free up. Back one, with the front one, we had to take you have to take this cam position sensor has to come off in order to get it out. So that's what we ended up doing to get the front one out. Now we're gonna work on getting the back one out of there. Wiring that's clipped to the valve cover. Make sure you disconnect it before you pry too much. Clipped down there pretty hard in the back there too, so I'll have to work that free also.
Fine.
Alright, so in order to get this rear valve cover off, we had to pull the PCV valve off the end of it there, and that was stuck. I was holding that in, holding the valve cover on, and then we had to pull the cam position sensor off of it, and then we were able to work it out after that. The rear valve cover came loose from the head easier, but it was a little bit harder to work out of there. So also, if you take your power steering reservoir loose, give your hoses some movement, it makes it quite a bit easier. So now that we're in here, this is what we found. We've got cam lobe there is good, cam lobe there is, it's all right. Got some residue on it, but that cam lobe there, that one is destroyed. Once we go to take that roller follower off, I'm sure that we're going to find that it is completely collapsed and not functioning. It's got a good size raise, maybe a 1/4 inch lift right there on that. That cam lobe is just destroyed. This one here is got a good size mark on it as well. The rest of them don't look too bad. The front and the rear, these rest of these don't have any markings on them really. So this one's got a little bit of a rub mark, maybe from some metal transfer. But if you look back here, and rub your finger across that, that's all the metal that's coming off of that cam that's on that magnet right there. Now these magnets on the back side of these cams, be very careful with them. If you put a magnet up too close to them, and you can mess them up, and then they won't work at all, and they won't read the camshaft positions, which is not something you'd want to do. But yeah, it's transferred to all of it there. It's all full of metal like that. So the motor's not ruined yet, but this cam is going to have to be replaced, and we're going to go ahead and replace all the roller followers and all the lifters, and we'll show that process in the next video. All right, so went ahead to did this a little bit of this without the camera on, just to see if I could make sure I knew how to do these new tools that we've got. So we've got the left hand set up right in here. The number has to be facing up. The marks, what I did is I made marks on the cam and on the chain and on the cam back here so that I can put them all in the same place. Then there's 2 arrows on the front of this. It's all lined up. The trickiest part is getting this little tool right here in. It goes on the side of the tensioner, and it goes in very difficult. Once you get it in there, you get in and you pull up on it a little bit and it releases the tensioner. Then you're able to push the tensioner back in with this tool here. And that tool in there stays there while you're servicing the rockers and the lifters. So now I've taken all these loose here and the cams are free. You can see that this is just all sitting in there now. The cams are free now, so we're gonna go ahead and take this cam right on off of here. Should come right off. We'll set that out of the way. And all these bolts for this one are loose. We're gonna go ahead and take these off. Take this cam out, and then we'll change all of our lifters and roller followers. And everything should, in theory, just slide right back together once we get it in there, but the cam phasers really can't move the way that they're locked together as long as everything stays put where it's got to be. And this one here's got a little tension on it still, so we're gonna lift that up. Gotta be careful of that. It shouldn't hurt anything though. When you go to put it back on, it's gonna push them back down, but and all these all these camshaft caps are stamped one intake and then the forward arrow front of the motor. This one will be 2. And this one will be 3. And that one will be 4. That came off. If you're changing the roller rockers, which are the typical problem, you're going to want to change all these lifters too. Which we've got all these lifters and Fowlers, and we're soaking them in oil, and we have been for a couple of days. Just keeps them, makes it so that they work like they should. These are all the old ones out of the first one. If you get one that's bad, usually they'll rattle. That one has a little bit. Shouldn't make any noise like that. It's the center bushing coming loose. We're in the middle of something. So we got a bunch of new ones here, all sitting in oil. We went with the melling parts. The melling parts tend to be better than the replacement stock ones. I mean, if you don't like the oil on your hands, you can always use gloves too. I just like to have these soaking in oil. It makes them fall right into the spot where they're supposed to be. Plus, it doesn't hurt them at all to have the oil on them. Side with the divot in it like that goes on the lifter. And they kind of fit in there kind of snug, so you'll know if you don't have them in there correctly. Just kind of wiggle them once you get them in there. So, because sometimes they want to move around on you a little bit. Make sure they're in there where they're supposed to be. Hold it for a second. Alright, just kind of stick your finger on each one of them, wiggle them a little bit, make sure they're set where they're supposed to be, because once you set the cam back on there, you can adjust them a little bit with the cam loose, but it's easier just to have them in the right place. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and set this cam back in there. And we kind of had this set so that the marking was up. We're just going to set it in there loosely for a second. And we're going to put the caps on there, but we're only going to put them on there a couple threads. That way there's room for the cam to move a little bit if we need to. That way we can get our phasers lined back up in the correct spots. But like I said, 2-1, second position. Or 2I, 2 intake. 3 intake, third position. Four intake, fourth position. Now you can run them right down till they touch the cap, but I wouldn't go much farther than that until you get your phasers lined up, because you might have to finagle them a little bit to do that. We're going to grab our other camshaft, set it back in the slot there. This one was kind of more aligned so that the dot was up. This dot right here. And the paint mark is kind of forward. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to set these cam caps on there, thread them down a little bit just to keep the cam from moving out of position. Pause the video for a second. Alright, so I took a little bit of finagling. I took a little pry bar and went underneath this pulley, lifted up a little bit, and I was able to push it right back onto the pin. Same for this one. I left this lock in the whole time. And on the back here, you can see the circle mark and the triangle mark. So you count between those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pins between those two means that these pulleys never move the spot on the chain. Also, your paint marks still line up there and there. Paint marks line up on the cam and the cam cap and on the sprocket itself. And same here, cam cap, and sprocket itself. Now all we have left to do is torque down these camshafts, and then we're going to torque down these oil control valves, and then we're going to rotate the motor over a couple times just to make sure there's no interference before we start working on the back. Awesome. Alright, so the torque on this one is just 7 foot-pounds, really light. So we're going to follow the torque procedure spec. There is an order for torquing. So this is number 1, and we'll just go around and do it. And I always recheck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. All right, now we still got our lock in here, so we're going to torque these ones down next. All right, so these oil control valves, they're 111 foot-pounds. So we'll do what we can to get those to that torque there. Leave the plastic locks in there because it should. Hold them so you can tighten them up. There it is. Now this is probably going to be a little bit stuck because I'm putting all that pressure on there. Just take whatever you're using to rotate your camshafts and wiggle it a little bit, and it should come right out, just like that. So we're gonna rotate this motor around just to make sure there's no interference on this side of the motor before we start on the other side. So we know we had this one apart and that one hasn't been apart yet. So if you run into something that's got interference, then we can go back and recheck our work here instead of having to try to figure out whether it's the front or the back causing the issue. So go ahead and rotate it. So we're looking for these cams to come all the way back around, and then we'll reline up our marks the way they should be. And then we'll count our links one more time, make sure there's still 12 links between the two, which there should be because it's not going to move, but we need to make sure that everything is good before we go putting it all back together. And if you watch as you go around here, you can see all these rocker arms moving. And if you look closely, you can see the oil squirting out of the lifters. That's why we soaked them for. Okay, slow. Getting close. Keep coming. Keep coming. A little bit more. A little bit more. Not quite there yet. No. Alright, so our arrows are lined up out here. We got 2 marks here. Both the paint marks there. You see them? They're even still kind of lined up with the mark we made on the camshaft cap. So we're going to count our links between this mark here and this mark here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then we have our mark, and then we've got the other pin. So there's 12 links exactly between the two. The arrows are both lined up, and both the index marks are facing away on the other side of the camshaft. These cams are good to go on this side of the motor, and we're all set to put this side back together. Now we've got to go ahead and start on the other side. So the tools that you're supposed to use for doing this, they don't work too well. There's lots of videos out there on how to do it. We're going to attempt to do it without trying to release it to see what happens. Hopefully it works just fine. We're going to go ahead and continue taking these bolts out for this camshaft. This camshaft here is the one that's failed. Needs replaced. So we're going to take these bolts out. You always want to take them out in kind of a crisscross pattern to release the pressure on the camshaft as evenly as possible. And as you can see, we got all of our paint markings on everything. These holes will face straight up and down. So when we put the new camshaft on there, we'll make sure that the holes are also facing straight up and down. And when we do these ones, we're going to do one cam at a time because we can't get the tool in there to do the tension or release procedure. We're going to start with this front cam because this is the one that's bad. Take a little bit of pressure off of that bolt and that'll come right out. Biggest thing is you don't want to lose your cam, your chains. And we'll just go ahead and pull that cam out of there. Everything kind of sit right there. Looks like this cam has failed completely in this spot right here. You can kind of see it better in the light. And then this one here started to fail also. You can see the grooving and the mark. Shouldn't catch your thumb or finger. Started to fail on some of these other ones too. And that would definitely cause a problem. These roller followers out. And lifters. That one there is not too bad. This one here has got some play in it. You can't quite hear it, but a little bit. This one here is the one that's completely failed. If you take a look at it, you can see how the roller is pushed all the way down past the groove there. Cam wasn't even hitting the roller no more. It was running on the rocker arm itself. This one here I expect to be in similar condition. Yeah, this one was just starting to do the same thing. And you can see on this one is really good. See it moving up and down like that? That's the roller bearings in there that are no good no more. Every single one of these ones on this camshaft have got some movement in them. None of them are as bad as those two that we showed. We're gonna go ahead and set our new lifters in. I've been soaking in oil still. New one in there. And there. And there. And all right, so all of our new lifters are put into place. And go ahead and set our new roller followers into place. Kind of get them in there, just kind of wiggle them around a little bit. Make sure they kind of sit in the groove where they're supposed to be. When you're doing this, make sure you check for any damage on the head. This one doesn't look like it made it down to the head yet, so. We're just gonna kind of wiggle them around, make sure they're all kind of in place there. Yep, and they're pretty good. Okay, and that's all the new roller followers on that one. Alright, so we got our camshafts here, and I made a mark on that dot that's on the camshaft right there, which lines up to the phaser sprocket. We'll go ahead and get that lined up, and then we'll set this camshaft down into place and torque it down. But first we're going to put some assembly lube on it. Anytime you put a new piece of metal like this, it's good to have a little bit of assembly lube, especially on the bearing surfaces. Gives the first few rotations of the motor until the oil pressure builds up. That way it's not dry. Some people will put it on the lobes and stuff too. It's really not necessary. And these magnets on this end, be very careful with them. Can do damage to them really easily. So we're going to go ahead and put this new camshaft back in now. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. So we know that that was facing basically up, just like that. So we're going to go ahead and do it like that. And we know that that's not going to quite line up yet, and that's okay if it doesn't really. It's going to be close, and it'll keep the chain from falling off if you just get it started up on there like that. Wipe some of that assembly lube off of my fingers. We're going to put our cam caps back on there, just to kind of hold things in place while we get the sprocket back on there. So just like on the other side, these cam caps are all marked. One intake, and that's forward towards the front of the motor. So you set that in place, get your bolts started. We're not going to tighten them down yet, we're just going to run them down so that it's holding the cam in position. And just like the other one, that one's a 2 intake. And this one's a 3 intake. Oops, the 2 intake, I put it in the wrong spot. It's okay, we all make mistakes. Alright, at least I saw it before we tightened it down. That's why it's good to keep them all in order like that. And 4 intake. We're just going to take our battery power tool. We've got those bolts all started a few threads. We're just going to run the nuts down, or the bolts down a little bit. We're not going to tighten anything yet. We're just going to run them down until they just touch the cam cap. Just like that. Just want enough threads for engagement and to make the cam not move around on us when we're trying to get our phaser sprocket back in place. These all have a tightening sequence, so part of the reason why we're not tightening it down yet is we got to look up the tightening sequence. All right. Now, if you take and roll this rear cam forward, should give us enough room. Slide that sprocket up on there, just like that, and start the threads in our bolt. Just hold a little bit of pressure off the timing chain there with this camshaft here. Until we get our oil control bolt worn up far enough where it engages the sprocket. Like that. And it's fully engaged now. If you look, all of our marks are lined back up. The camshaft mark that we made, the mark on the sprocket, mark on the back of the chain on the front of the sprocket, and the mark on the back of on the front of the sprocket there too. All lined up. Now we're going to go ahead and torque down our cam cap bolts. Those are torqued to 7 foot-pounds, which is very little. I think it's pretty close to the equivalent of 89 inch-pounds. And so we're going to go ahead and do that now. So we've got our torque sequence out, and we're going to follow it for the right-hand bank. And this front cam goes right here, would be 1. And then this would be 2. And then this would be 3. And this would be 4. And this would be 5. And this would be 6. And this would be 7. And this would be 8. And just like we did in the front, we're going to go through it one more time. So we've got 1. We've got 2. We've got 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. All right. We're not going to tighten down the cam phasers yet. We'll do that at the same time after we put the lock back in it, so that we don't damage the chain or the tensioners. All right, 7 foot-pounds of torque, just like on the last one. And these camshafts have different torque sequences for different ones, so you have to pay attention to both camshafts. So this one, this is number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Oops. Number 5. Number 6. 7. I'll be surprised if a couple of them go a little longer, because that just means they're pushing the valves down. 8. And go around them one more time. 1, 2, 3, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the last 2. 7, 8. Alright, so we've got our valve cover all prepped and all set. We've got our new seals put in, new gasket put in here, and we're going to put some RTV in the spots where the timing cover meets the cylinder head. Those are leak points, so we want to make sure that we seal that up. So there's one right here. And then there's one back here that's really hard to see. But pause for a second. Alright, so we got our gasket in place. We got RTV on the two spots in the back. We're going to go ahead and see if we can slip this in there. It can be kind of tricky to get these back ones in. So you want to make sure your gasket kind of stays in place. You kind of work your hoses out of the way. And make sure you don't pinch nothing in the process of putting it down. Just like that. Alright. You're going to take your socket, probably would be the best thing to do. And start all these sockets by, or these bolts by hand first. They're very small, you don't want to break them off. You get one that's a little sticky, don't force it. They will go in and they'll end up breaking the bolt. Pause it. Alright, all of them are started by finger. Alright. Press the bolts down with a tool, but we are going to torque them correctly, so just run them down until they touch. Kind of like that. Then you can stop and then we'll torque it down. And then we'll go to 2. These ones do have a sequence, you got to be careful because it's a plastic cover, you can break it. Two, and then this one here is 3. And then we have 4s over here in the corner. And then 5. This corner, and then we got 6 is here, and then 7 is in the center, and then 8's back here. I missed one here. Oh, 6 was right here. We missed it. So this one here in the center would have been 9. And 10 is here. And then 11's on the end. And then 12's on this end. Alright. Now we'll go through with our torque wrench. We'll torque them down. These get torqued down to 8 foot-pounds. Alright. So we got one up in the front corner. 8 foot-pounds isn't very much. And then 2's back here in the corner. And 3's right here. And then 4's back in this corner. And 5 is in this corner. And then 6 is right here. Is right here. This one. One that we missed the first time. And then we got 7's right here in the center. And we got 8 back here. And 9 right in the center. And then 10 here. $11, and then 12 in the center here. All right, and that's it for that. Now if you want, you can take your wire clips, you can kind of start putting them back in the little spots that they go. Sometimes they break when they come off. It's just how it goes sometimes. But get them back in there as best as you can, that way they're kind of in the places that they belong. And this one back here's got a little clip there, and a clip here goes around the valve cover. So push it, that one there, push it in this one here, and then the same thing across the back here. Alright, all those are back in. So now we're going to work on getting our VVT solenoids back in the holes down here and back where they belong. Alright, so these are kind of tricky to get back down in here, but they do fit back down in there. And we've got new gaskets in there. You want them kind of catered forward like that, because that's the direction your connectors are going to come in. You can set it in there and just reach down one at a time and start your screws. Once again, these are machine screws. They should go in kind of easy. Just be careful with it. If you drop them at this point, they might be kind of hard to find. Flashlight. Okay, rear forward. Carefully goes in this hole. Don't drop it. And again, these connectors aim forward. It makes it so that the connectors go in the correct angles. The back one there, the bottom screw is a little bit tough to get to. And there's somebody with skinny fingers to get down in there. Either that or this heater pipe would have to come out of the way, which is quite a bit of work to do. This bottom one on this front one's not very easy to do either. Oh, I got it in there, but I think it's starting to pull. And these don't gotta be super tight. They're just pinching rubber gaskets. This one really can't get on there very straight because of that pipe in the way. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put the spark plugs in. And the coil's on. Always put spark plugs in by finger first. Never use a ratchet or a power tool. Can cross set them really easy. Destroy the cylinder head. It's really, really, really hard to fix if you do it, especially on these ones that have a really deep well like this. And this one, you'll feel it kind of touch. He's got crush washers on them. So when it touches, you can kind of feel it crush a little bit, and it's normal. It'll be kind of weird for a second, and it'll get to a point where it stops. Just like that. Now, you can use whatever spark plugs you want, really, but Chrysler's pretty sensitive to Champions, Ford, Motorcraft, GM, AC Delco, NGK, Denso for pretty much anything imported. Toyota's like Denso's a lot. Pretty much everything else takes NGK. Same thing. You kind of feel it touch. Go a little bit farther. It's just crushing that washer so it seals against the cylinder head. And that's it. Alright, that's all the spark plugs. So we're not going to put the coils back in yet. So we still have to do a catalytic converter on the back of this motor, which is way easier to access things from right here without having everything in the way. We certainly don't want to lean on the coils if they're in there. So we're going to leave those off for now, and then we'll start putting the front valve cover on. You can stop. So we're going to put these seals back in here. We've got 2 of them in already. Just kind of wanted to show the process. These just pop out really easily from the other side with a screwdriver and hammer. But they go in like this with the taper up. So you set them in the hole. What we did is we found a socket that fits down in that hole really nicely. Then you tap on it like this. You want to be careful. You don't want to go too far because you don't want to break the valve cover. But it sounds a little bit different once you get to the point where it's done. So we're going to do the same thing with the RTV. You can kind of see they're not better on the front head. It goes in the spots where the timing cover meets the cylinder head. There and there. This front valve cover goes on a little bit easier. You don't have the PCV system in the way. Just make sure when you go to set it down, you get all your wires out of the way and just slide it in there. Just like that. Really easy. Start all the bolts by finger first. These two have a sequence and a torque spec. They're the same torque spec as the rear one. With the right hand cylinder head, which is 8 foot-pounds. Just start them all by hand first. That way you don't take any chance of destroying the threads where they mount. If you do that, it can be a little bit tricky to fix. Sometimes you give it a little wiggle like that and it'll move where it needs to be. You can kind of take and push down around the center once you get all the bolts started, and it pushes the seals down around those tubes where the spark plug's set. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run these down. This is number 1. Might have to take the extension off of it for that one. The washer solvent tank is kind of in the way. Just until they stop. Don't want to over tighten them. And then 2's over here. And if you look, you can see where that sealant kind of gooshed out a little bit. That's normal and that's okay.
3 is here. And then we got 4. And then 5 is this corner here. And then 6 is here. And then 7's in the center. And then we got 8. And then number 9 is here. Number 10. Kind of hidden right there a little bit. Number 11. And number 12. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and take our torque wrench, torque these down to 8 foot-pounds in the same sequence that we torqued it that we ran the bolts down in. So 1 is here in the corner. And 2 in this corner. And then we got 3 here. And then we got 4 here. And we got 5 here. And 6 here. 7 in the center. 8 here. 9 in the center here. 10 down here hidden a little bit. 11 and 12. And there's that. And we're going to go ahead and put the spark plugs in and the variable valve timing valves, but those are the exact same procedure as the other side. Alright, so we're changing the rear catalytic converter. We've been involved in taking the camshafts and rocker arms and lifters apart and putting those back together. But it looks like the catalytic converter might fit right out the back of it with everything apart like this, so we're going to give that a shot and see if that works. If not, it requires a whole lot more disassembly, which we are trying to see if we can do this like this. So we're going to go ahead and there's only 2 bolts that hold it in, and then it just slides into a bracket. So we're going to do that. They're back here in their 10mm head. And that one I already got loose. One. The other one is right next to it. And that's 2. Oh, we dropped that one. So let's see if we can knock that loose. We need a pry bar. If that oxygen sensor wasn't there, it would definitely come off. Okay. Alright, so we got the catalytic converter out and back in. It's not too bad of a job. If you do it from up here, you have to take all those heater lines loose, all those aluminum lines, not the AC lines, just the heater lines. But they unclip from the firewall, and then you take the couple of hoses off the heater core and these couple of hoses off over here, and then you can, the catalytic converter will come right out of there. It might come out of there easier if you could get the oxygen sensors out first, but we couldn't get ours loose, so we went ahead and just worked it out with them still in there. But it wasn't too bad of a job all in all.
Fine.
Alright, I'm not going to do a whole lot more talking while we're putting this back together. It's just a lot of reassembly at this point. I don't have much of a voice today. But we're just going to go ahead and do it. So apparently there's no torque for these upper intake bolts, so you just snug them up by hand. Obviously you're going into plastic, so you don't want to do them super tight. And you want use a small ratchet. It's a good way I find to make sure you don't overdo it. All right, and that's that. Don't forget about your bracket bolts back here that mounts your intake. Kind of gives it support because it's a plastic intake, so you kind of got to have it. This one's just a press fit. Slide it on there. And it goes here. And it's kind of a pain in the butt to get in there. And then it pushes over top of the peg in the back. And she gets in the right place. Just like that. And this connector plugs in there. Then you have your cleaner, somebody that can go back in. And this actually belongs in a little hole back here. This clip, right there. Well, we are at a point now that we can go ahead and start this baby up and see what it does. Alright, so we've got it running now, and as you can see, there's no more tick, tap, anything going on with the rear cam. Sounds good. Catalytic converter's been replaced, upper intake is all back together, everything is all together. Now we're just letting it run and relearn everything. We may have to do a cam crank relearn. Maybe, but as long as you got the timing back where it was, it really shouldn't have to have that either. So we're going to go ahead and let it warm up and cycle a couple times and get the cowling all back together in the meantime. Alright, so this is the final. It's all set to go. We're going to clear the codes off the system and test drive it, but this was rear intake or right-hand intake cam replacement. All the valve lifters, all the roller Fowlers, and the rear catalytic converter and both O2 sensors for 2017 Dodge Journey. Others will be similar, pretty much anything with the VVT 3.6 liter Pentastar Chrysler motor. So it would be in other applications. Durango uses it, Chargers use it, several different applications, but it's all set to go.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.